You know how when you find a house you love, you make an offer and put down some earnest money? Well, what if I told you there's a powerful stock market strategy that works on that exact same principle? Today, we are going to demystify the cash secured put. And don't worry, we're skipping the confusing charts and jargon. We're going to break this all down using something you already understand, making a serious, committed offer on a piece of property. So here's our game plan. First, we'll lock in that idea of the earnest money commitment. Then we'll see how that translates from houses to stocks. We'll run through the super simple math behind it, look at the different ways it can play out, and then we'll wrap it all up with a checklist you can use to make sure you're thinking like a pro.
All right, let's dive right in. Section 1, the earnest money commitment. Before we even whisper the word stock, let's get ourselves grounded in a real-world scenario that just about everyone can relate to. Okay, so you've been house hunting for weeks, and you finally find it, the one. To show the seller you're for real, you put down earnest money, right? It's basically a cash deposit that screams, hey, I'm not just kicking tires here, I am absolutely serious about buying your house at this specific price. It's your commitment put into dollars.
Now, here's the fun part. Imagine you're on the other side of that transaction. Instead of being the person paying that commitment fee, you're the one who gets to collect it. You just sit back and collect that fee. That one little flip in perspective, well, that's the entire key to understanding cash-secured puts. So by collecting that fee, you're making a rock-solid, binding promise. You're basically saying, look, I will buy this thing from you at the price we agree on, anytime between now and this future date. And just for making that powerful promise, you get paid up front. You just become the committed buyer, the buyer of last resort.
Okay, you ready? Let's make the jump. We're going to take that real estate idea and translate it piece by piece into the world of the stock market. You'll see, it's a perfect fit.
And check this out. It lines up perfectly. That deposit from the house deal, in the options world, we call that the premium. That's the cash you collect. The agreed price you are willing to pay for the house, that's your strike price. And that closing date on the calendar, well, that's just the expiration date of your options contract. See? It's the exact same logic, just with a different set of vocabulary. And this brings us to a really key term, assignment. Now, it might sound a little technical or intimidating, but it's not. It's just the official process of being told, okay, time to make good on your promise. It means the other party is exercising their right, and you now have to buy those 100 shares at the price you both agreed on. The easiest way to think about it is this. Getting assigned is closing day. That's it. It's the moment the handshake deal becomes a real transaction. If the stock's price is below your agreed-upon strike price when the contract expires, boom, it's closing day, and you're buying the shares. Okay, so we've totally nailed the concept. Now let's talk numbers, and I promise you don't need to be a math whiz for this. The calculations are incredibly simple. Let's get into it. Here is the absolute best part. Your maximum possible profit on this trade is the premium you collected right at the beginning. That earnest money is yours to keep, no matter what happens. The best case scenario is literally getting paid for being willing to buy something that you never actually have to buy. Okay, but what if you do get assigned and have to buy the shares? This is where your break-even point becomes so important. Your real cost per share isn't the strike price. It's actually the strike price minus the premium you already got paid. Think about it. That premium you pocketed acts like an instant discount on your purchase price. And this, of course, is the reason we call this strategy cash secured. You absolutely must have the money set aside to buy the shares if you're called upon to do so. That means the full amount. The strike price times 100 shares has to be sitting in your account, ready to go. You made a promise, and you've got to have the capital to back it up.
All right, so with that simple math in mind, let's walk through the only two things that can happen when that expiration date finally arrives. What does it actually look like in the real world?
It really just boils down to one simple question. Where's the stock price? If the stock closes above your strike price, then hey, congratulations, the contract expires worthless. I mean, why would anyone sell you their shares for a lower price than they can get on the open market? They wouldn't. So you just keep the premium, and that's pure profit. But if the stock closes below your strike price, you get assigned. You honor your commitment, and you buy those 100 shares at the price you promised. Simple as that. Now, we've got to be honest here. This is not a risk-free strategy. First, you've got trend risk. That's where you're forced to buy a stock right as its price is starting to go down, catching a falling knife. Then, there's liquidity risk. Your cash is locked up securing that promise, which means you can't use it for some other great opportunity that might pop up. And finally, there's event risk. This is when something unexpected happens. A bad earnings report, some terrible news, and the stock price just plummets, way below your strike price. So, knowing the good, the bad, and the ugly, how do you approach this with the right discipline? Well, that leads us right into our last section, the buyer's checklist. This is all about getting your head in the right space before you even think about placing a trade.
I want you to think of yourself as an underwriter, someone who approves a loan. You have to ask the tough questions. First and foremost, am I genuinely happy to own this stock at this price, even if it goes lower? Do I know my true break-even point? Is the cash I'm tying up a reasonable amount for this commitment? And finally, what's my game plan if I do get assigned? Am I going to hold the shares, sell them immediately? What's next?
At the end of the day, it all comes back to this one simple truth. You took their money. You accepted the fee. So if the time comes, you absolutely must honor the price. That commitment, that responsibility, that's what separates a disciplined strategist from a reckless gambler.
So, this entire strategy, with all its moving parts, really just boils down to one final critical question you have to ask yourself. Are you truly prepared, both financially and mentally, to be the buyer of last resort? Answering that question with a confident yes, well, that's the most important step you can take.